my channel. Today we are going to talk about tinctures. Now I'm not going to actually make a tincture. I'm going to show you a little bit of video from a tincture I made previously. And actually it was an infused oil that I made earlier this week that I'm going to show you kind of the process and go over. But today I really want to talk to you about the importance of weighing out your herbs on a kitchen scale when you're making tinctures and infused oils and any kind of extraction that you're making that is to be used for internal use. Now, a lot of people will recommend that you use the Fewell method when you're making tinctures and infused oils. Basically, that's where you eyeball everything. So you would have a mason jar. I'm just going to take a pint jar, for example. And you would do one part of your herb, and then the rest of the way you would fill it up with your liquid. So today we're talking about tinctures, so we're going to say the rest of the way you would fill it up with a vodka or a glycerin. Now that's all fine and dandy. We've been using that method for generations and years, and it has proven to be effective in some ways. Unfortunately, it has also been proven to have the most inconsistencies when it comes to results and getting the results that you want when it comes to herbal medicine. And that's probably one of the greatest issues that I constantly hear with people, is that they've made a tincture or they've made an infused oil or they've made something or a syrup or something with herbs, but they didn't get the results that they wanted. So the reason that happens is because we haven't been making tinctures properly. And the way to do that is to measure your herbs rather than eyeballing it. And I'm going to show you why. So herbs have different weights. Here is an ounce of lavender, not much in there, right? And it looks like one part of the jar. So that would be great for your herbal tincture if you were using the Fewell method. But if you're wanting an ounce of calendula, you might think, well, that's an ounce of lavender, so that's what an ounce of calendula looks like, right? Wrong. An ounce of calendula looks like this. So you can see the issue. Because this herb is more dense, you need less of it. Same weight, just looks like a lot less, where calendula is not as dense. And so you need a lot more of it to get an ounce of that herb. You can see why this is important, because if I were to make a calendula tincture or infused oil based simply on sight, I would really just be getting a flavored vodka when it comes down to it. I wouldn't be really getting any medicinal benefits from the herb itself. And so this is why we really recommend that you weigh out every single herb that you're making and the liquid that you're using. So to run down quickly how to make a tincture, you're going to get your glass, and normally people start with an ounce of an herb, but it depends on your jar size. But the ratio is always a 1:5 ratio with dried herbs. Now if you're using fresh herbs, then you need to try and use a 1:2 to a 1:5 ratio, but you also need to use a higher proof vodka. So with dried herbs, you would use an 80 proof vodka, up to 100 proof if you want to. With fresh herbs, you would use a 100 proof vodka. The reason for this is because, and as well as the lower ratio, is because fresh herbs have a lot more water content. So it's always best to use dried herbs or wilted herbs when you're making tinctures. So you would add your 1 part of herb to your jar, and again it's a 1:5 ratio. So if we're using 1 ounce of herb, then we're going to use 5 ounces of vodka. If we're using 3 ounces of herbs, then we're going to use 15 ounces of vodka. And we get this because 3 times 5 is 15. So always make sure that you're weighing everything, weigh on your kitchen scale, okay? So once you have your herb and your vodka in your jar, you're going to cap it tightly, you're going to shake it up, and then you're going to set it in a dark and cool place for 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the herb. I always let mine go for at least 4 weeks before I strain it out. Every day in a cool place that's dark, keep it out of direct sunlight, you're going to shake that. And you can do it once a day, a couple times a day, doesn't matter, but you're going to shake it up to make sure it's mixed well. And then after that 4 to 6 week time period, you're going to strain it into a glass bottle or a glass jar, however you prefer. I love to get the amber glass bottles that already have the eyedropper in them. So you're going to strain your tincture into one of those, and at that point, you can leave it in your medicine cabinet out of direct sunlight, out of extreme temperatures, cold or heat, and it can last for 18 to 24 months. Some tinctures you can read that they can last for up to 5 or 10 years, but you're going to test it after the 18 to 24 month mark. But it'll keep for a while. Now, if you want to keep it much longer, you can obviously keep it in your refrigerator, and it'll last for quite some time in the refrigerator, much longer than sitting out on your counter in your medicine cabinet. And that's it. That's how you make a tincture. Now, tinctures are really beneficial. It's one of the easiest ways to get if you're trying to attack something aggressively, a tincture is the way to go. And you normally, it's about 30 drops every 3 to 6 hours and you take those 30 drops and put them under your tongue and then swallow at that point. And the reason we do it under the tongue is because it gets into the bloodstream a lot quicker that way. You have veins underneath your tongue, and your tongue, underneath, absorbs a lot of that liquid very quickly. So, if you're wanting to make a tincture, I really encourage you to do the ratio, not the folk method. The folk method is where you just eyeball it, but understanding what is in your tincture, what is being extracted, and the proper dosing. And we can confidently say that when we make a tincture, using our kitchen scale, knowing the amount of herb is proper and that we're extracting the proper amount, then we know and can confidently remedy our family and our ailments. I do have a blog post on this. No need to take any notes, so go ahead and look in the description, check out the blog post. All that information is there, and it shows you exactly how to make a tincture. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you as well. And that's about it for me today. Look for more herb videos coming up. As you know, I'm writing a book, but I can't tell you everything that's all in the book yet. It's just packed full of information for you guys and being homesteaders and loving herbalism. So that's it for me today, guys. Hope you have a great day. Happy homesteading.